First topic of conversation is Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg agree to hold a cage fight. I am not making this up. This is real. This is 2023. We are living in Black Mirror. It's officially happened. Musk tweeted that he was up for a cage fight with Zuck, the billionaire founder of Meta. Mark then posted on Instagram, one of the Meta companies, a screenshot of the tweet with the caption, "Send me location," which for the people that don't know, I believe that's a reference to the Conor McGregor and the Russian guy when they fought a couple of years ago. I believe that's what he said in his broken English, and that's what kind of led to the fight. Zuck is super athletic. He is like a black belt, I believe. He's trained in this for a long time. Elon is like an overweight, 10 years older or whatever, rich guy. He doesn't need to do any exercise. I think he actually admitted on Twitter, or X now as it's called, right, that he the only exercise that he gets is like throwing around his kids and playing with kids. He did say he has got a special move called the Walrus, which is where he lays on top of Zuck and just doesn't move, and that's his attempt to win. But yeah, like, crazy story. I don't even know where to begin with this, but Robert, what's your take when? I know it's a weird one to start with, man. But what's your impressions of the cage fight?
I'm right up for this. I think the UFC can jump on this, sell tickets, get it out to charity. This could be the biggest fight of the century
Of all time, right?
Of all time, yeah. This is Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, I guess the biggest one at the moment would probably be Mayweather and McGregor, right? That was like I remember watching that in an airport in Brisbane a couple of years back. But this would do like 10 times that in theory. UFC would go crazy for this sort of thing. What's your take here?
So they even offered the Colosseum to host the fight.
A Colosseum?
Yeah.
Like in Rome or something?
Yeah, so Italy, the Italian government reached out, or somebody from Italy reached out, is like, hey, even the Colosseum is available if you do want to have this fight.
Everybody wants it to happen.
Yeah.
I now have this terrible image of both of them in loincloths, gladiator.
The two billionaires just fighting it out. I mean, in true billionaire style, they could potentially just pay somebody else to do it for them, and they just kind of stand back and watch as the fighting happens, perhaps. But so you mentioned the charity angle there, Robin. That's a really good point, because these guys are rich enough; they don't need the hundreds of millions that they'd get from it. So it would be kind of good if they made it a charity thing, right? And is that what they've been talking about, or is that just an idea which came to your mind?
No, I don't think they've even begun to think about that. But no, it's sort of a, if they're going to do something stupid, let's get some benefit out of it for the world.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the proposition of two of the most controversial and hated men just
in the world.
Yeah, in the world, just punching each other. I think that would appeal. That would draw a massive
Everybody
audience.
would watch it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows who Zuck. People use Facebook, even if you're, elderly. My grandma is on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And then, young people perhaps are more interested in TikTok or Snapchat or whatever. But, these companies, to tweet something was part of the cultural digest. I mean, now it's to X something, I guess. I don't know if it's got the same appeal, but and everyone knows Facebook, everyone knows Instagram. Instagram's got like 2 billion daily active users or something. WhatsApp is huge in like India, for example. So the whole world knows who these people are, whereas the world probably didn't know who like Conor McGregor is. I know he's super famous in the fighting world, but not everybody knows who that person is, right? So this is a little bit different because these guys have got like universal appeal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is different. I think it's in some respect, in terms of face recognition, it's like Biden punching it out with Putin.
Yes, yeah.
But I think there is a downside to it because we have this sort of Edison-like view of these guys.
Yeah.
So it's going to perpetuate this idea that, hey, these crazy, clever guys are just wacky dudes instead of perhaps being fundamentally idiots.
I mean, this might not be the smartest move, right? I mean, I really do wish they, as entertaining as it would be, I would love to see Musk focus on trying to get us to Mars, or Zuck trying to, not have some blocky cartoon metaverse and have something that's like really, really cool and exciting and interesting to it. I know that's what they're spending most of their time on, but any detour, any distraction of a great mind is time wasted if that actually happens. They have been taking it fairly seriously, though, in the respect that Musk has started training for this. So he's been working with, there's been some pictures on Twitter, on X, I don't know, it took me a while to get used to that, of them bashing it out with like UFC, like professional world class, world champions. Lex Fridman, the popular tech podcaster, he has been training with Musk and Zuck. There's videos. There was a video with Zuck, and then there was a picture with Musk, which I think explains kind of why Musk might need to have a bit more training. So I guess they're both training. They've both been on a call with Dana White, the head of the UFC, to talk about actually making this happen. So it does sound like they're both pretty dead serious. But I don't know, like if you had to make predictions here, do we actually think this will happen? What would you say, Mihir?
I mean, there was a time when Musk's mom stepped in she's like, oh no, my son is not going to be fighting here. Where I think he probably DM'd her in the background. Is like, hey, can you just pull me out of this somehow and make up some excuse for this?
Yeah.
The way I see it is that from Musk, one of his primary driving factors is that he wants to appear cool.
Yeah.
Or he wants to appeal to the people. He wants to appear funny. Like, he could have been just happy, like taking away the credit of being real life Tony Stark or something like that, till he actually revealed himself and being that needy guy who just wants to appear funny all the time and he craves validation from people. And so that's definitely making that proposition was driven from there. And now he probably realizes that, okay, I'm going to fight Zuckerberg, who's 40 years old, jiu-jitsu black belt, has won local tournaments in jiu-jitsu, etc. And on Zuckerberg's side, it's more of an image cleansing one where he never had the thing which Musk had, where he was universally cool, looked up to, right? Where he was just always that robotic guy who just is like a tech nerd, right? So for him, it's going to be a massive thing because, of course, he's going to win. But at the same point of time, he appears as some sort of a cool person and cleanses his image a bit. And on the Musk side, I don't know. I think he's going to back out last moment, making some excuse.
Well, getting his mum to step in. I don't know if he asked her, but imagine if like the richest person in the history of the world has to pull out of a fight because his mum gets involved on Twitter. I mean, that's just hilarious. It even adds to it. But I think you're absolutely right here. He's got a very desire and he really good at staying relevant and influential. I mean, he had the money, but he actually had the most followers on Twitter before the purchase. And I think part of me thinks he was perhaps a bit scared of, maybe tweeting out the wrong meme or something and getting cancelled. And then he's lost that huge following. So maybe buying Twitter was like insurance for maintaining his reach and his influence and impact on the world from that perspective. But you can certainly see it in like the crazy stunts, like every other month. It's like, hey, here's a new one. Hey, pay attention to me, sort of thing. And I will gladly sit there with the popcorn watching because it's very, very entertaining and appealing. What's your take, Rob? Do you think this is going to happen? Do you think it's a little moment in the zeitgeist, or do you think it's actually going to happen?
Hard to say, really. I mean, Musk's got mileage in sort of going forward and saying, I'm going to spend $44 billion on something and then changing his mind 5 minutes later.
Yeah.
And his mum's a pretty powerful figure in his life.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, she raised him, essentially after he, I think he doesn't have a great relationship with his father, so he kind of looks at her as like the person setting the morality and the standards.
Yeah,
right?
very much so.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if she was able to sway him. What about predictions, right? Let's say this doesn't happen tomorrow because he'll need to train if he's actually going to do it. But let's say in like a year or two, Musk is like, he's jacked, he's trained, he's really, really invested himself into this like he did with Tesla or SpaceX or whatever, and he's ripped. And, it's him, Twitter or X versus Meta, Zuck. They go head to head. Who's going to win? Let's get predictions, right? I mean, right now the answer is Zuck, probably, right? I mean, unless like some miracle happened. But could Elon beat him? Like, let's get predictions. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Musk on this one. He's just got the bulk and the flab.
Sure.
He can outweigh anyone just by what was his phrase? Walrussing on top.
Yeah, walrusing them. Just lay on them.
Has sort of this vision of like a sumo against a little tiny jiu-jitsu person. It's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, he actually had a fight with a sumo wrestler a couple of years ago at like a birthday party of his, and he messed up his spine doing that. He had to have surgery or something. So, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Like if you're bigger, you can wrestle them, you can lay on them and hold them down. Okay. 1 point for Elon.
So I think what Musk has going for him is definitely the weight, and of course both have money, so they both have the best training available to them, or best diet, or everything is available to them.
Everything. Yeah.
But given that, with his age, his lifestyle till now, and not having worked out a single day in his life, and starting at 50, I don't think he has a way back.
Yeah.
And also, this would require a tremendous amount of discipline as well to achieve, just to get there. And I don't think he has that in him as well, because even for losing weight, he uses Ozempic or something like that. Rather than actually going out and training or controlling his diet, he uses external medication with that. So I definitely think he lacks that discipline, and I would give it to Zuck.
What medication is it?
It's actually got legalized in UK as well, Ozempic, in the past few months. It's something which I think it controls, it makes you less hungry.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that, I'm not 100% sure. But it's essentially weight loss medication, which works.
It'll be interesting to. I mean, look, clearly Zuck would win now, but who knows? In a couple of years, maybe you're right. I mean, I just like, obviously I'd much rather them focus on building great tech companies, but the entertainment side of me is like, Colosseum, let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Fight to the death, and the winner gets to keep the other person's social network. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
I mean,
fighting for pink slips.
Yeah, it would be the monopoly of monopolies, really. I mean, I could see Musk, being like, hey, yep, let. I don't think Zuck would ever agree to wager Meta on a fight, but who knows? Let's make it happen.